Hey everybody, Brandon from the Vancouver Pupps here with yet another video. I know there's been a lot of videos lately because I've just been doing a lot of work on things lately, so I just have a lot of content to sort of document, record, and go through. That's okay, I'm sure you guys don't mind. But yeah, in this episode, what we're going to be doing is I'm working on one very large video coming up in the near future, and there's been just a lot of pre-production I've had to do for it, planning and pre-production. But one thing I really needed to do was create some props for this episode, and so I've been really working hard on those for the last few weeks. So I originally wasn't going to be recording any of this, but it just became, I realized it was so big, all of these little props that I had to create ended up piling up to make one gigantic project, sort of. So it seemed necessary to sort of at least make a video out of it. And I thought there's a lot of stuff that we could sort of learn from this. So a couple of the props are already made. One thing that I'm going to be showing off in is one of my favorite props here is the blue apples that I've had almost since the beginning. That was sort of a background prop that I made for Vancouver Pupps way back at the beginning, so those are of course going to show up. And then I made this off camera, and this is a foam anvil. Really, really lightweight, so it's very safe. And I didn't record any of the creation of this, unfortunately, but I did take a couple photos of it being created. But it's made with just the EVA foam that I pick up at the dollar store. I get lots of this stuff. It's cheap. So that's what that's made of. And everything was from the dollar store. The paint, the silver paint, yeah, everything. So that was done. That's one thing done. But I'm going to be using the EVA foam for another project. What I'm going to do is take this one, this mat, and kind of glue it into a circle. And I'm going to use this, which I also got from the dollar store. This was a broom handle that I cut in half, and I only need one part of it. This is enough. I'm going to be gluing this together to make, we're going to be sticking with the Looney Tunes theme, and I'm going to be making like a cartoonishly large hammer, mallet, a wooden mallet. So that's what that's for. Oh yeah, and then this rope, which is also from the dollar store, that goes with the anvil. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on this mallet that I'm going to show off so we can get a little more content on working with EVA foam. And then later in the video, we're going to do some stuff with acrylic resin. This is a two-part resin. I've used resin for small little things, but this is actually a lot. I'm going to be using it to make sort of like a splatter effect that we're going to be able to move around, and yeah. But yeah, I kind of thought that would be a fun thing to show off too a little. So stick around for the final third part of this episode, I would say, where we'll do some resin work, all right? So that's sort of what I planned, just the last few props. Oh, the biggest prop, of course, of all, that we also already finished, I'll show it off, is the flowers, which are right over here. I'm just keeping these here for now. But yeah, that became such a big job that I just made a whole episode out of it, which you've probably already seen. Should be the video right before this one. All right, but that's it, guys. So, all right, let's get going. Doing more props. Starting with the EVA foam cartoon mallet. All right, so this is what the EVA foam looks like now. I just, this is where I glued it with the contact cement. I made a ring, and I cut it down a little bit. And then I just used this soldering iron to just burn some grooves into it here to make it look, to give it the texture of wood. So now what I'm going to do is paint this. Oh, we also going to make some round ends here for the endings, just to plug up the ends, and they're going to be covered with some fabric as well. You'll see. Let's make it look kind of like a cartoony mallet. But yeah, but anyway, the next step is painting, so let's get going on that. Yeah, the reason I have the fan going here is just to blow out the fumes from burning the foam with the soldering iron. So I just making sure I'm not breathing in any of those toxins. All right, so here's the foam block, and I've already given it a couple layers of a lighter brown. I wish I'd gotten two browns with more contrast, but we'll see. Yeah, there's not much difference between this and the bottom layer, which is a bit of a shame, but that's okay. I'm just gonna put this on, one more coating. This is a darker brown, and I've watered it down a little bit with some water. And I'm just going to lightly coat this all with the darker shade. And then I'm going to take some paper towel and sort of wipe it. Normally that's what I do but yeah, like I say, I don't think I'm going to see very much because of the color's so similar. All right, so here is the foam tube. You can see the corrugated part here, or whatever they call that, on the inside. But yeah, after all of the weathering, after all the layered painting that we did, and then melting these grooves, and I even filled in a little black in the grooves so that they would show up a little bit more, so that starts to look a lot like wood. So here is the pole that I got, which was a broom stick that I got from the dollar store, and I measured here the circumference of the stick here on this side and this side, on opposite sides. So I'm going to now cut a hole that's a little smaller than that because we want it to be kind of tight. Yeah, I don't want the I want the pole to go through this hole rather snugly. So I'm going to be making sure to cut just within the line that I had marked. All right, let me just see if I can pass this through that. Yep, that's gonna be good. That feels really good. All right, that's nice and tight without being too tight. And then I'm just gonna cut this one. And let's see how that one feels. Good, yep, that's really good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, now the reason I wanted to do, we also have these, I cut these round ends, and these are going to be the pieces that go on here to fill in the end. We're going to but the reason I wanted to do this first is because I want to be able to glue this, add glue, and make sure it's sealed from the inside. So here we are, so it's going through there, and then through there. Good. All right, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some glue to the cracks, and I'm just going to let that glue overnight because I need that to be nice and strong. Yeah, this is going to be perfect. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so I'm just going to add some Elmer's glue, I think white glue, just to round the two cracks on both the outside and the inside. That's why I wanted the ends open so I can get in there. So just glue those, and then the next step is I'm just going to use contact cement for these to just cover the ends, yeah, on each side. All right, so the hammer's coming along pretty well. I'm just setting up my lights here. All right, so what I did was I cut a couple pieces of nice clean muslin. This is just muslin fabric. And a couple pieces of rope. Just like a nice kind of rough twine. 2 pieces, and it's enough to wrap around it a few times. So I'm only going to do one side at a time because we're going to need to rest this while it dries. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing it with some, I think just glue, or I'll just use Mod Podge and a little water. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get these wet. I'm going to get them damp, and I'm going to get a little bit of water here. All right, here's a little container. Oh, I need water. Yeah. So I'm gonna dilute the Mod Podge. Okay, just a little bit of water in here, and I'm just gonna pour. Whoops! Yikes! That came out faster than I was expecting. Okay, ooh, this is a lot. Okay, that's good. So I just made a very thin Mod Podge there. So now I'll just open up this yarn. Not yarn. This is not yarn. This is like really rough twine. This is from the dollar store, and it's rough stuff. But I like that rustic look. I knew that would be useful for this. So now I'm going to. Actually, don't need the brush. I'm going to put this into here. Making sure that it's not getting tangled at all. All right. And here is our little muslin sheet. I just ran it under some water and roughed it up. I'm going to use my hands, I think, for this. And just make sure that this gets well doused in all of that. All right, that looks good. All right, I better wash my hands. All right, now this should be resting on its side. So we'll do one side at a time. Hopefully this works, because I gotta wait for this to dry. I gotta wait for it to dry completely. Okay, squeezing out as much that Mod Podge as I can. All right, let's see here. Which has a little bit of an overlap over the whole thing. All right, now this is the tricky part. I gotta tie this string around it. And the string's also been coated in the glue. Right, there's the first pass. That went actually pretty well. I'm actually gonna pull the. Oh, that worked pretty well. Hopefully, I can keep it up. I like that. That worked out really well. So let's go around again, because this string that I cut can go around 3 times. So I'm gonna do exactly that. I'm gonna go 1, 2. I know you can't really see this where the camera is, but I'll show this. Once it's done, I'll show how it looks. All right, so I just tied a little knot there. All right, I'm just pulling the little bit of muslin down so that it looks kind of nice. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna wash my hands quickly and then I'll show you guys. All right, let me show you what I'm looking at here. So this is what I've been doing. Yeah, just going around and pulling this down, and the string's been tied here, and I guess I don't need any more of that. So there we go. So I'm just gonna let that dry, and then that should kind of be nice and hard, and I think that looks pretty good. And then I'll just do it on the exact same thing on the other side. So there we are. All right, well, there it is, guys. Completely safe, all made of foam. I can bonk someone's head, so one of the pups is gonna get it with this. You'll just have to wait and see who it's gonna be. I mean, I know who it's gonna be, but anyway, this prop turned out pretty well. So there we are. So the next thing we're gonna be working on now is that epoxy resin project that I want to try. So let's get to that and start working on that. That's another important element to what we're gonna be doing for the future video. All right, so this should be something really different today. That's something I've never done before. So here's the resin. So what we're basically doing is I want to make like a sort of like a blood splatter. And the reason I'm doing it out of resin is just so that I can just place the blood splatter down and I don't have to worry about liquid, real like fake blood getting anywhere, because this is going to be sort of something that's going to need to sit around on the floor for a while. So I thought, well, I'll just make a fake pool of blood. And originally what I did was, I originally tried this clear Elmer's glue. Here's the little test. I basically used Elmer's glue and a little bit of red food dye. And I laid this on a piece of parchment paper and I just baked it on a low setting for about an hour and a half. And it does work, but it's not very flat. You see, it kind of like, I'm not sure if that's from the paper or the glue itself, but it kind of like bunched up and it warped, and I need this to lay very flat. So I decided we're going to use resin, because I've used small amounts of resin, little bits for little projects and stuff, and it works really, really well. I've never used it in this large quantity before though. But yeah, we're going to do that today. So I'm going to start by putting on these gloves, and I've laid plastic down. And then what I'm also going to do is just add some lifters here so that this resin doesn't get away from us. And put this one here. All right, I think that should be pretty good. So here we have two parts. There's the resin and the hardener. The packaging says to add the hardener first. Uh-oh. I don't have any nails. This is gonna be tough. Oh shoot, I hate this. All right, so here is the hardener. So we're gonna add this first into our mixing container. And I'm just gonna do all of this. Okay, that looks good. And then here is the resin. Okay, and then we want this to be red. It does, this kit that we came with, this kit that we got does come with a variety of color pigments. So I'm going to add the red, because I want this to be a strong red. Very vibrant. All right, now we just mix this. We're gonna mix this for 5 minutes. All right, so I'm making sure I'm mixing this really well, scraping all the sides, trying to make sure that it's all evenly mixed. Oh, God, my arm's getting tired. Okay, well, that's probably about as mixed as it's gonna get. Whew, okay, here we go. I'm gonna start pouring it now. All right, so I'll move this around a bit. Okay, there we go. That's sort of what I wanted. Something like looks a little bit like that. Okay, it's messy, but hopefully we did this right. It says you're not supposed to scrape the container like this, but it's fine. I don't care. Okay, so I'm just gonna let that sit now for 30 minutes. I really don't like this. There seems to be some little bumps in the plastic that might be causing some trouble. That's kind of worrisome a little bit. That worries me a little bit. Ugh, I don't know. I hope that's not a problem, but we'll see. All right, so I got some bad news. The resin does not seem to be working, you guys. It's been now, like, it's the next day, and look, it's still liquidy. It's hardened a little bit, but not enough. I mean, I wanted it rock hard so I could have, like, I wanted it, like, well, yeah, I just wanted it rock hard so that it would just be nice and firm and easy to pick up and work with. So that was a failure. I'm disappointed. Oh, I'll show you the resin. Hold on a sec. All right, so when I mentioned earlier that I've used resin before for special projects, yeah, I've used this one. I get this at the Looney store. It's super cheap, and you can just like mix small amounts of it, and it's always worked. Anyway, I don't know. I have some theories. I mean, I mixed it for a long time. It said mix for 5 minutes. I did at least that. But maybe it wasn't properly mixed, and I don't know. And then the other theory I have is maybe it was too cold here. I mean, I am in Canada. It's not that cold. I'm wearing a tank top right now, and I'm okay. But it does say to make sure the room is warm, and you can even warm up the bottles ahead of time. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to scrap this idea. I'm going to call that a test failed, and that's okay. I don't mind showing mistakes. on the channel here sometimes because, I'm learning how to do things. And hopefully we'll be able to have a chance to come back to the epoxy test later. So I'm going to go to Plan B, and I'm working on Plan B right now. I'm doing another test, and it's in the oven as we speak. So I'm going to keep testing this, and if it works, then I'll show you exactly what it is. All right, so to go with the resin blood splatter, I've been working on some little pieces of brain matter, and then this stuff is just done with this stuff I like to use. I've used this stuff a lot, this moldable foam, which air dries, and I've used this stuff a lot for making organs and different inside parts of the body for Oko. Yeah, it works out really well. I think I made a whole brain out of this one time, and I've used the same technique to make like intestines and stuff, and it works really, really well. So yeah, I'm just making a few things to add to the blood splatter. So that's sort of what this is. I already got a few laid out, just a little bit of foam left. One pack I think is going to be enough. And we'll just keep making this look as fun and as gruesome as we can. Adding all kinds of little details. And I also have this extra set of curly eyes that I'm going to be adding to it as well. So that's another little detail that will be added to give it the full effect. All right, so we've been having some success now with the glue. So this is the transparent glue that I got from the dollar store. I got a few bottles of this and red food dye. And yeah, this was the initial test that I did. But it seems to have been working out pretty well on the baking sheet. The parchment paper caused it to kind of crinkle up a little bit, but these ones are laying a lot more flat. So here's the first two bottles I did. Put those together to make a big splatter, but I want to make one more. So I have 3 here. So we're going to do one more batch of the glue. I basically just lay it out on the baking sheet and then heat it at a low setting for like about 4 hours. It takes a long time. A very low heat setting, and just dry out the glue, and then you let it cool on the baking sheet when I take it out, so that it just kind of like cools flat, and then it stays pretty flat. It seems to be working. And then I have a couple eyes here that I want to just fix up, and then we'll add those to this gory mix as well. All right, so let's just finish getting our third. I need to have a waiting time of about 4 hours. So we'll just get the final bit of the splatter here, and then we'll put everything together. Okay, so there's not much more to do here. I'm pretty happy with how these panels have turned out with the glue. I'm just going to put them together in sort of a big bunch there to make one big splatter. And we have lots of these little bits of brain matter that I made out of the foam. So we got those, but I want to finish these eyes quickly. This shouldn't take long. These ones had bolts in the back that I was using, but I just covered those with these balloons. Okay, I'll just stick some of these pupils on to the eyes. So we got pupils. Okay, and then I'm just going to add a few more tendrils to the back of these. So let's see here. I like the pink ones. These are just balloons. The balloons they make party animals, or not party animals. Is that what they're called? Party balloons, whatever, when they like bend them into the shape of animals and stuff. What's that called? So how am I gonna do this? I think I'm just gonna like literally just push them in. I need something to poke it with. Here, let's see. Here's a tapestry needle. Let me see. I just want to like poke a few of these in to the styrofoam. Yeah, that's probably good enough. Yeah, good. So just poke that in, and I'll just put a little squirt of glue on there, just so that'll hold it in place. Yeah, I just pushed the tip of the balloon into the styrofoam. There, okay, good. So there we are. So then I'm just going to add a few more tendrils to each of these, and that's what we're going to do. I think that looks pretty good. This is sort of a purpley colored one. All right, there we go. Just gonna let that glue dry, and then there we go. There's the eye with little tendrils, optic nerves and things attached. I'll just let that dry. So I'll do that to the other eye, and then I think we're pretty much done. This prop as well. All right, here's a full tray. Here's a full tray that I did just so that I would have lots of area covered. So yeah, here was a big one that I did, and this one cooked for at least 5 hours. But yeah, it should be, yeah, it feels all dry. So I'll just let this one cook. And yeah, now we have lots of surface area to cover with our fake blood. All right, so there we go, guys. There's a little bit of extra content. There's a variety of props there that we have all ready to go for my next great big video, which should be coming out sometime in the next month, all right? So thank you, everybody, for watching today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking down below. I'm Brandon from the Vancouver Pupps. Thank you very much for watching my video today. Have a good one. Bye for now. See you on the next workshop.